This is great. Usually the films I recommend are like never meant for kids. This is awesome. I'm becoming a dad. That's not awesome, actually.
Hello, darkness, my old friend.
Hi everyone, this is Josh, and today we're going to talk about the new Sony animated Spider-Verse film, Across the Spider-Verse. This is a sequel to the 2018 Into the Spider-Verse film, which I reviewed on this channel. I loved it, and this new film here, I think, is one of those rare instances where the sequel is better than the original. This is like the Empire Strikes Back quality type of sequel. I'm going to keep this review spoiler-free because it is a lot to explain. Basically, the plot is about Miles Morales trying to stop a new villain, Spot, who can travel across different universes, and he runs into a bunch of different Spider-Men and women along the way. Because it involves a multiverse, you can expect a densely layered story with some big philosophical ideas for a kid's film, like the dichotomy between individual rights and the greater good. With all that said, I think that it's almost necessary for a film like this to feel big and convoluted. It is dealing with a multiverse after all, so you might as well get as much as you can out of it. And man, does this film do just that. Watching Across the Spider-Verse feels like combining all the animation styles of Love, Death, and Robots and putting it together into a 2.5-hour film that's more geared towards children. It's weird. This film is technically targeted towards kids, but adult moviegoers looking for a psychedelic epic that gives you sensory overload in the best way will not be disappointed with this. I'm not condoning the use of hallucinogenic drugs before watching this film. It's probably inappropriate to be tripping balls around children. But maybe, you know, if you're in the theater and there's no kids there and you're partaking in substances meant to take you to the next dimension, this film might help you get there. But seriously, Across the Spider-Verse is super creative, and I feel like it's not just style for the sake of style. This film, to its benefit the majority of the time, doesn't restrain itself. Instead of the story happening primarily in one world with characters of different art styles like in the first film, this film jumps from one world to the next world with different animation styles in each one, with unique versions of Spider-Man, which plays into the theme of being yourself and setting your own destiny, not letting societal expectations put a limit on who you are and what you can or can't do. I appreciated how the film expands upon that idea with the subtle allegory of trans and queer acceptance, a very appropriate message for the US, which is having a hard time with that right now, unfortunately. It feels like there's a lot of attention to detail and respect to the various artists who have made comics about the various Spideys and art styles we're seeing. There's a few dialogue scenes involving Gwen Stacy's world where the room she's talking in will change color, sometimes she'll change color, the room will change shape. This entire world she's in becomes this emotional, abstract canvas of sorts that warps and represents in some way how she's feeling at a given moment. And that's what I loved about this film. I felt like the expressive art was often used in a way to completely immerse you into the headspace of these characters and the story. Does matching all the art styles together always work? Not always. There's one action scene in particular where a very old art style villain is fighting our main characters, and sometimes it looks a little muddled and messy amidst the chaos. There's a few times when I think the film reminds us that it's a kid's film when we're seeing these novelty versions of Spider-Man that are mostly incorporated for comedic effect that I didn't always find to be very funny. There's a lot that can be said about the plot and the story mechanics, but to sum it up, I think it worked really well for the most part. There was only one point where the film felt kind of slow. It's meant to develop the relationship with Miles and his parents and the conflict between them. Even though I think that could have been more interesting or paced better, it still set up what was necessary for what happens later in the film. But for real, guys, if you want to go to the theater and you don't want to watch The Dial of Doo-Doo, consider watching Across the Spider-Verse, which can satisfy both adults and kids. I'm going to give Across the Spider-Verse a 4.5 out of 5. Thanks for watching this review, guys. I really appreciate it. If you like what you see, then hit the like button, subscribe, and hit that bell for notifications so you can know when I might be recommending another film you can trip balls to. If you want to watch my review of the first Spider-Verse film, I've linked that in the description. And yeah, that's going to be it for me. See you guys next time. Bye.